Hi folks, welcome back. Not satisfied with already having a massively overflowing inbox of records. Today was the Windermere Record Fair, so I went along and added more, as is my want. So I thought I'd just go have a quick show of what I managed to buy. All of this was relatively cheap, between £5 and £10. I think there was only one record that was over the £10 mark, and I managed to get a decent discount at the end. Anyway, first up we have this live album from Ian Hunter. Ian Hunter, obviously the vocalist from Mott the Hoople. This was released in 1980, and his main right-hand man for this album was one Mick Ronson. This includes his big hit Once Bitten, Twice Shy. You also get Mott the Hoople numbers like All the Way from Memphis, I Wish I Was Your Mother, Walking with a Mountain Rock and Roll Queen, and All the Young Dudes. First up, this is my first Ian Hunter album on vinyl. Next, another new artist to my collection, and this is Tim Hardin with his album This Is Tim Hardin. This was released in 1967, but the recordings were actually made in 1963 and 64, I think, prior to his first album proper. You get songs like Staggerly, Hoochie Coochie Man, House of the Rising Sun, as well as a number of his own self-penned numbers. I've always wanted to try some of his material, so I was pleased to find this. Next, we have David Fanshawe with his album Arabian Fantasy. Now, I've got his album African Santos, and I think it's really good. And this is the follow-up, obviously based around Arabian music. As the notes say, scored for recorded instrumental folk music of Arabia and desert sound effects with trumpets, horns, trombones, cellos and basses, tuned and untuned percussion, guitars, organ, piano and synthesizer. Looking forward to giving that a listen. Like I say, if it's anything as good as African Santos, I'm going to enjoy this. Next, adding to my Steely Dan collection, this is The Royal Scam, which I think was the album that came before Aja, and this was from 1976. I never used to be that keen on Steely Dan. I only liked, some of the singles, but the more I've listened to them in recent years, the more I've got into them. So that's a nice addition. Next, Blue Oyster Cult and their second album, Tyranny and Mutation. I like the early Cult, they're excellent. This album, I think it's like a number of their albums, has one side that's far stronger than the other. And with this, it's side one where you have The Red and the Black, OD'd on Life Itself, Hot Rails to Hell, and 7 Screaming Disbusters. This is, I think, is going to be excellent. And to go with that, I managed to find a copy of Spectres by Blue Oyster Cult. This is their 77 album, and this is the album that features Godzilla. Great track. Nice one. Now, next a band that their 70s output onwards I can't stand. And that's the Bee Gees. Never did like their disco phase, etc. But I've always heard that their 60s material was different and really good. So I've always quite fancied trying it. And this is their 1967 album, I think their fourth album in total, Horizontal. The only number I think I know on this, or I've heard sometime, is Massachusetts. There's tracks like Lemons Never Forget, The Earnest of Being George. I'm quite looking forward to giving that a try, and for a £5, no big risk. Getting on to some really good folk, and this is Robin and Barry Dransfield, and I think this was their first album, The Route of the Blues, on the Trailer label. And I think this might be a reissue because it says record first produced in 1970. And this is where they do their version of Scarborough Fair and The Trees They Do Grow High, amongst others. I've got other stuff by them together and solo, and it's always really good. That was their first one from 1970. This is their second album, Lord of All I Behold. This is from 1971, again on the Trailer label. The tracks I sort of recognise from here: Bold William Taylor and The Wild Rover are two. So nice to find those. And then a big favourite of mine, and I'm surprised I've not already got this. This is Richard Thompson's solo live album, performed at 3 gigs in New York. This was recorded in 1982, released in 1984. So it's just solo acoustic. I've got it on CD, but I've never had a vinyl copy. Here he does stuff like Beat the Retreat, A Heart Needs a Home, For Shame of Doing Wrong, Genesis Hall, I Want to See the Bright Lights Tonight, Down Where the Drunkards Roll, The Great Valerio, Don't Let a Thief Steal Into Your Heart. Magnificent stuff. A couple by the same band, and this is Family with their album Anyway. I think this is their fourth album. Comes in its own plastic cover, and it's on the Reprise label from 1970, and the cover just falls out. Big fan of Family, even though Chapman's vocals can take a bit of getting used to. So that's the first one by them, sorry. The second is, I think, their fifth album, and this is Fearless. And this is the one with the gimmicky cover, if you want. So there you go. This was, I think, the first album with John Wetton on bass. I think he only ever did 2 albums. It's the one with Spanish Tide on it. So Family are always a decent listen. So great to find these very cheaply. Sticking with the prog, we have Curved Air with their first album, Air Conditioning. Now, when this was originally released, it was released as a picture disc, and it was I think, the very first picture disc on vinyl ever. But that was the early days, and the sound quality was meant to be pretty naff. Don't think things have improved too much in that respect. No, some picture discs aren't too bad, to be fair. This was from 1970. Obviously, Curved Air featured Sonia Christina on lead vocals, Darrell Way on electric violin, Francis Monkman on lead guitar, organ, piano and mellotron and harpsichord, and Robert Martin on bass, and Florian Pilkington Mixer on drums. Good album. Again, another one I've got on CD, but never had on vinyl. Penultimate one, and if you'll excuse the cover, this is Flash and their first album, In the Can. Hope that doesn't get banned. This is obviously the band that Pete Banks formed after leaving Yes, as the man himself, along with Michael Howe on drums, Ray Bennett on bass, and Colin Carter on lead vocals. This album seems to have been owned by two different people. Signed by Dennis Miggins here, and on the front he's signed by Pamela Morgan. Thank you, Pamela, and what did I say? Dennis, thank you. Looking forward to giving this a listen. I've got the second album on vinyl, picked that up a year or two ago. I was pleased to see that. And finally, the only one that did cost me over a tenner. This is a re-release of Spyro Gyra's album Old Boot Wine from 1972. I think this was, this is a 1986 re-release. Sounds wrong, must be wrong. It's on the Timeless label, which I've got a few other things from on that label, and they're always good reissues. The 86 refers to the establishment of the Timeless label, according to this. But I think that's even wrong. I don't know which year it was reissued, but it must be fairly recently. Spyro Gyra being sort of a folk prog band that featured the vocals of a lady you might have heard of, Barbara Gaskin. So that's my pickups from Windermere. I think you might get another video from me tomorrow, though tomorrow might prove to be a busy day. Rob Walker did a video recently showing albums that were released on the same day, which seems like an interesting thread, so I might give it a go. But I've just noticed that Richard McCook and Dale K433 have done videos, so I'll have to watch their responses first so that I don't duplicate anything. Anyway, I hope you're having a great weekend, and maybe I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.